Hello and welcome to another new video. In this video I want to see if there is a growing number of toxic users and see the trend for that group in my LLM application, and also show one behavioral difference between toxic and non-toxic users. To do that, I first need to identify my user groups and then go to the insights page and do some analysis. Just before I start, let me show you my data structure. Here, as you can see, I have only one event type, the LLM task, which is basically an interaction between a user and an agent. Let's open up one, and as you can see, I have LLM input that contains a user input, and the LLM output that contains the output from your LLM or your chat agent or your chat model. And then we have user properties, other properties from the task, such as toxicity. This property I will be using to identify my two groups, the toxic user groups and non-toxic users. So I will head over to people's page under cohorts, and this is where I will create my two new groups. As you can see, I already have two existing groups for US users and Russian users. I can go inside, for example, US users and see under matching criteria that I have identified all the users from US using the person property. So there's a property inside the user that defines the country name. So it's very easy. All we have to do is to select the country name equals US, and if I save this, I have all the users that contain this country name property for the United States. The same goes for Russia. Now I want to create my first group. So let's go back here and plot a new cohort, and here under matching criteria I have the option for behavioral and person properties. In my case, my users don't have any person properties that identifies them as toxic users, but I do have events where I have the user toxic property as I've shown before. So let's select completed events and go for the only task I have, and I have a problem here because I am unable to select events where the toxic property exists. So I need to first specify my toxic events, and I can't do this from here. So what I need to do is to go over to data management under actions tabs and create a new action. Actions can be used to create we can use a set of events and create one event, or in my case I can select a subset from my LLM task using the user toxic property. Let's make sure this exists, and now I have a way. Let's name this user toxic event, and now I have a way to identify my toxic users. I will go back to peoples under cohorts, and now I will create my first cohort for toxic users, and here in the criteria, instead of going over to the LLM task, we go to the actions tab and select the toxic event, and here in the last 30 years I just want to select all the users in my data. Let's save this, and I have about 900 users for this criteria. This is the 900 possibly toxic users, and now I will create one cohort for non-toxic users. And here I will create two criteria. I will define two criteria. The first one being all the users have completed this event in the last 30 years, and make sure as well, use an AND operator, and make sure that all the users that have completed this task do not belong to the previous cohort I created, the toxic users. And with this, if we hit save, we have all the users, 8.7k users that do not have a toxic event. So this is our grouping for non-toxic users. Now I can go to products page, and I can see some insights for these two user groups. The first example I want to see is the ratio of non-toxic users over time since the start of the year. So I'll go here. Let's see, I want to count the number of unique users for the LLM task. Now we can use the filter to select our non-toxic users. I'll duplicate this, and I want all the users in the since the start of the year. Let's do a group by day, and can add a smoothing, why not? And now I want to enable the formula mode and divide A by B. Let's hit enter, and we can see that the ratio of non-toxic users over time has been pretty stable so far, with about 90% of users being considered as non-toxic. And we can save this graph as well and display it and add it to a dashboard and visualize the trend for this graph. Here at the end, there's a sharp drop because my data goes only till March 14. Now, for the second insight, I will show how to visualize anger frequency for the two groups. I want to see how likely each user group displays anger emotions when any kind of emotion is present. So let's create two series here. The first one is going to be about LLM tasks. Let's select a filter for non-toxic cohorts, non-toxic users, and also add to add small OQL expression. This expression I will explain in a second. This basically calculates for the events where an emotion is present, how many times are from anger emotions. So we're calculating the ratio. So let's also make sure that the user emotion is present, is set, and I don't want to see user emotion. I don't want to see the neutral label. I want to discard that label. It's very common and not very insightful. And now I want to see this for the last 90 days. Let's use a bar chart. Let's plot this with the options. Let's show decimal percentage. And now I want to duplicate this and change this from non-toxic to toxic users so we can compare the two. And as you can see here, B, the colors are wrong, but B, which are the toxic users, we can see that the toxic users are more likely to show anger emotions when displaying any kind of emotions. We're talking about 3.89% have anger emotions, while the non-toxic users have only 0.13%. It's a quite drastic difference, but it's also not surprising because most likely the anger emotions overlap with toxicity. So, and that's it. These are two simple examples where you can identify two user groups and see their differences and also track user toxicity over time. Subscribe to my channel and like this video if you find it interesting.